Hello, my name is Shelley Meyer. I'm the Family and Consumer Science Agent in Harrison County, and today we're going to be talking about stocking your pantry. There were a couple presentations given to me by Heather Norman Burdoff and Jeannie Nager. I've made some adjustments to them as well to include some things for the purposes of this presentation. But first off, I feel like I need to tell on myself just a little bit. So when I told my husband the topic that I was going to be teaching to the homemakers across the Bluegrass area as being this particular one of stocking the pantry, he laughed because he would argue that I am perhaps the most unqualified person to be doing this topic. He's one of those, he walked into our pantry and gets flustered with the bare shelves that are often there. And so we go back and forth on what the right tactics are. I'm one of those, I see the value in using up everything until it's gone. That way nothing expires. We're saving money that way because we're stretching the ingredients to make them work in different meals. However, he tends to think that we are not as prepared for emergency situations and just having those foods readily available. So anyway, that's a little humor to add to the presentation. Needless to say, I am learning with you all on this particular topic because it will do me well to do a little better job keeping the home pantry stocked as well. When you first look at your pantry, there's sort of a process that can kind of make this a little more step-by-step in selecting the next stage to stocking your pantry. First, you want to take an inventory. So you want to go through the pantry, see what you have, and then check those expiration dates. Note any items that you enjoy or that you don't enjoy, and then stock accordingly. There's no need to waste money on those staple items if that's not something that you or your family is particularly going to eat or enjoy. The next step is to stock, and consider stocking your pantry with some items that we're going to discuss today later in the presentation, as well as those stapled item lists. And again, there is no set staple item, so to speak. For some people, it may look at like a certain list, and for others, it may look a little bit different. But there's no rush in stocking your pantry. So please take your time. And this allows you also to kind of keep up with different sales that might be going on so that you can stretch your dollar a little bit and buy a few more things. Find an organization system that works for you. Some people like to sort by food groups, others stock in an order in which they are used. Still, other people prefer to stock in a way that certain foods are in reach of their little people or kids in the family, while some foods with glass jars, for instance, they would like to keep up higher and out of reach. But choosing a system that works for you will increase the likelihood that you use all the foods in your pantry. And the final step in this diagram is to restock. So before you go to the grocery store, look at your pantry, note what you are close to running out of, and that way you always have that on hand. And then keep a running list. For me, I like to use that on my phone because that's something that I'm going to have with me at all times. But a post-it note, or if you have a paper that you keep near your refrigerator, just something where you can keep that list running so that when it's time for the grocery store, you have a ready-made list to take with you. Besides the benefits of emergency preparedness, a stocked pantry increases the likelihood to cook. So if you have food on hand, you are less likely to run by the drive-thru. Foods from a stocked pantry may have less prep time, which is convenient for a busy lifestyle. For example, canned vegetables are often ready to go and do not require that washing and prepping the way that fresh vegetables would. You don't always need to follow step-by-step recipes to enjoy a good meal. Sometimes it's just assembling different food staples to get that big flavor. Pantry staples are often affordable with longer shelf life, which makes them a money saver. You still want to keep fresh fruits and vegetables on hand, but stocking your pantry can complement a healthy diet by including foods such as whole grains. These items are versatile and often aid in completing a meal, either by multiple varieties or a variety that you like the most. You can store in a clear labeled jar if you wish, but you can also just put your unopened bags in, like flour, in a sturdy Ziploc bag, which will help ensure freshness. These items are easily handy when you are in a pinch for time. So some of these can serve as a base of soups or chilies, canned fruit, can be used for desserts. You can also serve multiple possibilities with dishes, sauces, casseroles, etc. In addition to the ones listed on this slide, for flavor, you can add refrigerated ones such as mustard, soy sauce, and mayo. But you do want to keep these items away from light and heat. Don't store them too close to your stovetop. All of these items add flavor to your meals, so become familiar with which vinegars and spices that you use and add them to the marinades, dressings, seasonings, and soups. Some multi-purpose items to have are included on this slide. These can be standalone items, but are often used to enhance flavor and add nice texture to meals, such as dried cereals would do for a parfait, for instance. Store these items properly after opening so that they don't go stale. The goal to meal planning is to build a balanced meal. When you are considering what to buy to stock your pantry, think of the My Plate and create meals that include food items from each group. You don't have to have recipes to create meals. So what you'll want to do is start with a base. What do you have on hand? And then you'll want to pick a form, such as a soup, a casserole, bowl, taco, sandwich, and then figure out how to balance it out. Use the My Plate and pick a color from that. We recommend at least 3 different food groups from the My Plate to create your meal. And then plan it out. Think about how long it will take and what are the prep requirements. Finally, get creative with what you have. Let's apply that concept using an example. So let's say your base is the leftover brown rice and you decide to make stir fry. Then you add frozen peas and carrots for vegetables and scramble an egg for protein. You may opt to use a stovetop cooking method and maybe you like soy sauce, crushed red pepper, ginger, garlic, and sesame seeds, which seasons it up there for you at the end. It's easy to find yourself in a food rut, kind of repeating those same meals week after week. So your FCS agent from the Extension office can provide you with these resources. They include some daily meal ideas that can help you in planning those meals. This chart provides some examples for different substitutions that may work better for you and your family. It is okay to swap out those ingredients that you have on hand to complete a meal. Many foods can be used in multiple ways. For instance, rice is the most consumed food in the world with over 100,000 varieties. And you may be able to produce several meals with just a little creative cooking. You can add flavor to your meals in more ways than one. So not just the ingredients add flavor. Consider the way that you prepare foods. Roasting vegetables, for instance, brings out a totally different flavor than steaming them. Allowing certain soups and stews to cook on a low heat often brings out that richer flavor. If you have stewed meat, it's going to taste better if it gets to cook low and slow. Take inventory in your kitchen. You probably have more than you've realized. So looking around makes you realize what you do have. Want to add a little crunch to your salad? See what nuts and croutons you might have. Look at your vinegars, spices, oils, condiments, and even things like orange juice. Serve with style by adding extras when you actually plate your meal. Add a pop of freshness with herbs like cilantro or parsley. If you normally add red onion to a sandwich, what about trying onions that have soaked in vinegar or caramelizing white onions? Flavor throughout your cooking by taking time to actually taste and adjust to your liking. Start small and then add more after tasting. Dates found on food products can be important to know as you clean out, restock, and organize your pantry and freezer. The best if used by date is simply for freshness. It's supported by FDA, but food isn't necessarily spoiled or unsafe. However, it may have lost some of that freshness or nutritional value. The use by or best by date such as cereal, snacks, canned foods, frozen entrees, means that you can eat these foods after these dates if there's no signs of spoilage and if you have stored, handled, and prepared them properly. The sell-by date often is found on fresh and perishable foods like your fresh meats, your dairy products, breads, and they are usually pulled by the stores after this date, but not legally required to do so. So again, most of these foods are still safe to eat after the sell-by date as long as there's no signs of spoilage and as long as you have stored, handled, and prepared them properly. Be sure to cook your fresh meat, fish, and poultry within 1 to 2 days after you have bought it and refrigerate it. You can also freeze it, which will make it last longer because once it is frozen, the date doesn't matter. If you do have questions about how food items should be stored for maximum freshness and quality, we encourage you to download the Food Keeper app. You can also learn all about it at thefoodsafety.gov. Here are some additional resources to help you plan your weekly meals and to help get you thinking about those kitchen staples that you should consider stocking with. And again, checking with your FCS agent at your extension office for these publications would be a way to get your hands on some of these resources. Here are some of the images that I actually downloaded from Pinterest. So if you are updating a pantry and or if you have the time and the money to spend towards it, a well-developed space can make stocking the pantry fun. But more than anything is having a designated space for all of your foods, which can make the pantry efficient. So consider using cabinets, boxes or bins, clear containers. All of these things will help you organize. Creating that perfectly stocked pantry doesn't happen overnight. It takes time and practice. So figure out what foods complement one another. And while baking is very precise, cooking is more flexible. It's okay to improvise, and the flavor to your preference is something that you will want to be sure to do so that you enjoy your meals. And then it's okay to add or leave out certain components that you and your family enjoy. Thank you all so much for your time. If you have any questions, please reach out to your family and consumer science agent. They can get you in contact with me as well for any of those questions that you might have. And good luck presenting this at your next Homemaker meeting. Thank you.